Hi everyone, it's Professor Govinder from the Durban University of Technology, the Department of Mathematics in sunny Durban, South Africa. And today we're going to look at the concept of negative numbers. We are familiar with numbers, right? We've seen the number line starting off at 0 and to the right, positive numbers. And then we have this mysterious group to the left called negative numbers. What are negative numbers? In fact, most people don't encounter negative numbers on a daily basis, except for things like a negative bank balance or negative temperatures. So today we're going to take a deep dive into negative numbers and start to look at what is the meaning, but in the context of temperature. So we're going to do a whole series of experiments, and that will solidify what negative numbers are in terms of temperature. Guys, remember, safety first. Respect your experiments. Yes. Right, to emphasize the idea of a negative number, we're going to be looking at or working with liquid nitrogen, which boils at minus 196 degrees Celsius. That's right, I said minus 196 degrees Celsius. And you can see it boiling quite vigorously as well. The big question is, what would happen if you dunked a fully inflated balloon into liquid nitrogen? That's at minus 196 degrees Celsius. Yep. About room temperature. And now we're going to stick that into liquid nitrogen. So just watch very carefully, and this is something you'll remember for the rest of your life. Watch this. What's that? Yay, what's happening over there? Now let's think about that very carefully. Ah, there we go. And this is what you see. Inside there's a liquid, and we see that liquid disappearing as well. So something very cold, right, has caused the air inside to liquefy, to form a liquid, and then eventually, taking it out, liquid actually starts to boil and forms a vapor. The self-inflating balloon. So guys, here's the famous whistling kettle. We know that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. But what would happen if I stick some nitrogen into this kettle over here, right? So here we go. And just going to top that up very quickly. And then you see immediately there's some boiling taking place. So the question then is, and you notice that the kettle gets very cold on the outside, right? Is it boiling? Is it freezing? What's happening over here? Right? So fascinating at a very low negative temperature. Awesome. So here's one squash ball. What would happen if a squash ball is thrown into liquid nitrogen? We know a squash ball, it's made of rubber, it's got an air cavity in the middle, it's got a bounce to it as well. But what happens if we cool that? So come along over here. So at minus 196, very warm squash ball, you'd expect that to be boiling very vigorously because the ball is very warm compared to the nitrogen. Let's leave it there for a minute or two, and let's see what actually happens. All right, so squash balls are meant to be slammed against walls. So let's basically have a look there and see what actually happens. So it's cooled down sufficiently. So very quickly, going to grab that ball now, just like that, and then aim. So for the final one, my favorite, which makes it impossible for me to get a six-pack. Lady fingers in liquid nitrogen. Very warm with air pockets in there. Remember the squash ball? And now we just put that in there, hold that for a few minutes. The big question is, well, will I be able to eat this biscuit? Ordinarily, if you're not trained, you never eat, drink, or taste your experiments. But let's that cool down very much so. So those air pockets are now freezing in there, forming little ice particles. Biscuit should shrink to a little extent. Now you can't put that straight into your mouth because you've got that at minus 196 degrees Celsius, extremely cold. Right? Very dangerous. Think about the temperature of the inside of your mouth. What is that? How many degrees Celsius is that? Give it some thought. It's a positive number. So we sort of invert that biscuit, let gravity do its thing, right? And then I'm going to take a nice sizable bite. Right? So just respect your experiments. That's a big question, guys. This is not cloud seeding, but what actually happens when nitrogen meets warm air, right? And you're going to see a real cloud forming. And what is the temperature inside a cloud? Could that be negative? All right, so here we go. Let's try this up. can appreciate these things called negative numbers. It doesn't have to be associated with unhappiness, debit orders, and negative bank balances. Negative numbers can be fun, and if you've just seen at -196, the science can be really cool. Get it? Cool. Yeah, that was awesome, guys. See you soon.